It's time for cash tags and it's time for some social media. For that, we're going to bring in Megan Brantley, Vice President of Research at LikeFolio.com and Fast Market contributor, Miss Jenny Horn. Welcome back, Jenny.
Thank you, guys.
And thanks for joining the show today on this Thursday morning, Megan.
Thanks.
We just saw you getting ready for the show with some Monster Energy. So, what is your guys' data got for Monster?
Monster is a fun one to look at. We are seeing some significant year-over-year growth, about 18%. In the same time frame, the stock is actually down about 5%. So typically, that's a really bullish indicator for us for Monster.
And that's interesting because this is a stock that really it's got multiple kind of different products within the Monster brand, but it really is just Monster energy drinks and kind of those spin-off different styles, you know, the Java Monsters and probably a low-calorie version and different things like that. You would think that the consumer purchase intent mentions would be pretty strongly correlated to its revenue and things of that nature. Is that right, Megan?
Yes, we do find we have a pretty strong correlation with Monster specifically. I think that the last time that we got beat, we were right with revenue, but it was the quarter that they disclosed that they were in arbitration with Coca-Cola over Coca-Cola trying to launch 2 new energy products. And so that kind of got us, but in terms of revenue, we've seen strength specifically in the last 2 quarters.
Yeah, the problem with Megan is Coke owns about 13% of them, and they co-produce some of the brands, right? Like, I just love the names, though, that I'm looking at with Monster. How about this one? Mutant Super Soda. I mean, what is Mutant Super Soda? I love some of the names, but it certainly seems like their brand is Monster, right? Jenny, help me out here. Monster is in just about every thing that they have. It's Java Monster, Muscle Monster, Mega Monster.
All just different forms of Monster.
Yeah. This is Megan and Jenny. This is your wheelhouse here with Monster. Help me here.
I've been wanting to talk about Monster forever, not because I'm an avid energy drinker, but because the stock is such a cool story. I mean, it's up 60,000% since 2000-ish, and it's a really cool story because it's the leader of the S&P. You talk about these names like Apple, Amazon. It's technically outperformed these companies. So I love that Monster is kind of this untold story a little bit, and I love the fact that they have grown so much over the last 20 so years.
It certainly slowed down a little bit over the last couple of years, though, and that's sort of what Megan was alluding to. It's only up 9% trailing 12 months, but it's actually only up 16.5% over the last 3 years. And so, Megan, when I'm looking at, you have the 2 circled here, comparing the quarters that we're actually going to be looking at for this earnings announcement. That's what you want to see, and you want to see the stock kind of going sideways into this if you're looking for a bullish signal. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know, this is what we look for. We like to see that year-over-year growth. I think it's also, you know, it's encouraging to see that the current quarter that we're in is pacing very well. They just released a new concept called Rain. It's in competition with Bang energy drinks. It's got a lot more caffeine. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the images surrounding the release, but they have the mountain from Game of Thrones. That's their brand ambassador. So it's an interesting take on a new product for Monster.
Yeah, brand ambassadors, I feel like, are a huge thing for Monster. We have Tiger Woods that has a Monster branded bag since 2016, which is something, Kevin, I know you can appreciate. But to get into the tweets a little bit, our first tweet is from Bill Brewster, who said, in 2015, Monster sold 16.7% of its equity to Coca-Cola for $2.15 billion. Enterprise value at December 31st, 2014 was $17 billion. There's a non-zero chance I would have been upset about a diluted sweetheart deal. The result, a more capital-efficient business that has an enterprise value of $30.5 billion. So, Kevin, you kind of mentioned this ownership. Coke owns roughly, I think it's 19% of Monster. But, I mean, could we ever see a takeover deal? Because Coke has such a large portfolio. Monster is so much smaller. They're only really energy drinks.
Well, the answer is yes, unless Monster gets so big of a value that they're too expensive to buy.
Right.
Right?
I mean, kind of where they're headed.
Right, exactly. I mean, it looks like Coke had the right idea to buy a portion of Monster, but the wrong idea, they should have bought it all, frankly.
Right. And we see this distribution now for Monster has
Right.
been helped by the fact that Coke is...
Well, Coke has the infrastructure set up
Exactly.
for any liquid. Remember, Coke, if you look at their company profile versus something like Pepsi, they're all liquids. From top to bottom of their balance sheet is liquid. So they can help Monster in all the infrastructure ways to distribute.
Well, and quickly to add on to kind of what you're pointing out, Kevin, Jenny was alluding to its percentage gain since about 2000 being, some astronomical number. And I kind of pointed out, over the last 3 years, it's slowed down. It's a little bit more realistic. That's just a sign of a company becoming a more mature, real business that's, just churning out cash flow and growing at a more organic rate. And that shows, that's when Coca-Cola got involved. That's when they got them to be a little bit more capital efficient, as all these things that this tweet's alluding to.
Yeah, the law of large numbers, right? You can't expect these big percentage gains as the company keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The percentages are going to go down, but the numbers are bigger.
Right, exactly. So our next tweet is from JP Moore, who says, Monster Energy, I think I'm ready to open the vault. 409 initial count. So as you can see from this picture, people have just the most hysterical tweets today about how they are so brand loyal to Monster Energy. I mean, people are fanatics, as you can see from this tweeter. But Megan, my question is to you, is an analyst at Macquarie Capital actually said that energy drinks are the carbonated soft drinks of this generation. Do you think that's true? Do you see that at all?
I think so. I really like your note about brand loyalty. We actually looked into that, and we see people, consumer happiness with Monster is really steady, which is what you want to look for. But when people talk about buying it, they're talking about buying it in bulks. Like, they're talking about cases of Monster. And so that, to me, is that's a great indicator for the company in general. I think that competition is something that they'll have to watch out for as people realize how lucrative the energy drink market is. Will they be able to fend off these competitors?
Remember, the original energy drink was Mountain Dew, right? And that's where they got the phrase, all jacked up on Mountain Dew. That was the original energy drink, and all these have kind of spawned from that, that high caffeine, high energy drink.
I love it. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I do drink energy drinks.
Well, and looking at what we have just on the screen right here too, it's motocross, and like I associate energy drinks and Monster in particular so much with action sports. One of their big athletes is Nigel Houston. It's a really, really popular skateboarder. But the thing that really sticks out to me in Monster over the last couple of years is their transition into more your legacy sports in golf, with Tiger Woods being obviously the biggest name and one of the biggest athletes ever to exist, on par almost with Michael Jordan. So it's incredible to see this company really change its image and continue to grow.
Yeah, Michael Jordan was one of the originals to drink Gatorade, and now Tiger Woods has Monster. Interesting.
Right. It seems like sponsorships are a huge thing for Monster. I mean, that M is so recognizable.
Right.